Welcome to the 216, highlighting Cleveland Changemakers. I am your co-host, Derek.
Hi everybody, I'm Jet. Our goal is to inspire, inform, and entertain with an emphasis on Cleveland sports. We want to give a big thank you today to AC Roman for sponsoring our show. AC Roman designs, manufactures, and restores bronze, brass, and aluminum signage. Visit their website to get an instant quote.
Yes, thank you to those guys. Bernie, we are thrilled to have Bernie Kosar here, Cleveland Browns legend, join us for the show today. Episode number 2 here, the 216 show is off to a big start, so we thank you for being here.
I'm honored to follow the Case Western tennis squad here in episode 2.
Todd, as we said at the end of the show, Todd set a high bar, but we're excited to be joined today by Bernie and, continue on a strong tradition here, only being 2 episodes in.
For sure. Absolutely. It's an honor to have you on, Bernie.
Yes. Thank you for being here today. So, here at the 2, one of our values is inspiring meaningful change. And that's really what we're all about, as the 2. We're trying to change our society as a whole, but on the show here, we're highlighting Cleveland Changemakers, and those that in our community have made an impact and have made changes. So, Jack, you want to jump into our Changemaker segment?
Yeah, so Changemaker segment, Bernie, what would you say being a changemaker means to you?
Well, first, thanks for swallowing my cranium about calling me a change maker. I'd like to think you guys are too, and what you're doing and having the vision here at Too Strong, and whether it's here at the retail location and restaurant or what we're doing with the podcast. But I actually thought, and we were joking before we went on air, about how at your guys' age, I really thought that growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, that I was really kind of meant to be the quarterback of the Browns and to sign autographs and to be a football player and things of that nature. And, at 19, 20, 21, through my 20s, that was what was cool to do. And then I really thought now as a 61-year-old that I'd be kind of cruising through life, reflecting back on games 30, 40 years ago, signing autographs, doing things of that nature. I really didn't think, and not to be overly religious or overly spiritual with you, that kind of maybe I was really put on this earth for another reason, not just to be the quarterback. And I sit here today as a guy who's probably north of 60 surgeries, 80 broken bones, 100 concussions, 14 or 15 seizures, the last seizure in a coma for 96 hours. And to be, when I retired in 1997, and to be basically on north of 100 pills a day for most of this century, most of the last 3 decades, to be diagnosed or told 7 years ago that you have 5 years left of cognitive brain function, to not say cognitive, to not be able to enunciate, articulate, communicate really any multiple syllable words. I've just in the last few months been comfortable being able to kind of talk about stuff like that. So when you get diagnoses like that, or Parkinson's like I was told last year, or the liver transplant list like I was told 10 months ago, to be able to sit here today, in 2025, in the middle of May, and it to be cognitively present, to not be on any pills, to have not had any in the last 7 years, and to see how the ramifications of good, healthy living and healthy choices, what it's kind of done for me. Now it's almost like a message or a responsibility for me. For sure. To kind of get out and not just tell people my story, not just to kind of sit here to kind of people feel sorry for me or to think to think nice of me. It's really now to kind of show some of the kind of options and some of the things I'm doing now to be cognitively present and to live this type of lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, and I think, here at the 2, along the same lines, philosophically, that's the same change that we're after in society is, any one of those diagnoses or any one of those labels. Our vision statement here at the Two is life without labels. We're here to lose the labels, lose the stigmas.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, and that's one of the things that really made, and not saying this to over compliment you guys, but it's one of the initial things that massively radiated and stuck with me was the kind of the life without labels. I'm like, again, all of us in society kind of want to be looked up to, want to be respected and stuff. But then a lot of times you want to put labels on you. And here I am, an ex-quarterback sitting here at 61 years old, but I still remember, and I was 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. I'm not an extroverted, cool person. I'm an on the spectrum introvert. That runs in our family. It is at 61. They have all kinds of labels for it. Back at first and second grade, you were called retarded. Okay, and those are humbling labels that sometimes stick with you. And now for what you're doing at Too Strong, we're a life without labels. I so recommend for people listening to us today, and not just saying this because I'm here with you guys, to really look at some of the root causes of what's going on. And just because you get labeled something doesn't necessarily mean that's that's a life sentence for you. And I was told multiple times, oh, you're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life. You have this label, and this is who you are for the rest of your life. That does not define you. And when I was told I have to be on all these pills, and you're not going to survive without them, and I saw my life physically and mentally deteriorating, I just knew that, one, I had to do something about it, but also, two, once I started doing something about it and seeing kind of the effects of it, that I almost felt a responsibility to tell people, because, hey, look, I'm not sitting here to brag, but to not take any pills now and to be Parkinson's and dementia and a liver transplant, you're supposed to get your spleen out, and to be able to be more fluid in your conversation than a lot of the healthy people. I don't say that to brag, but I say that for people out there now that we're told that they're ADHD, that they have anxiety, and they're put on 100 milligrams of Adderall, Vyvanse, and Ritalin, like I was put on, like my 11-year-old daughter was put on when she was 90 pounds and her ex-NFL father was 37 years old and couple ho-hos north of 320, finding out that there's other healthy options than going right to those kind of medications. And I really believe, and as we sit here today, I love it here at Too Strong. I actually wish it wasn't closed because I'm starving, because food is our medicine. And the stomach, brain, and how it's connected, there's absolutely correlation to that.
So what you just said, food is our medicine. When did you you said you're off no pills. When did the switch flip for you to say, I gotta get off all these medications and go more holistic?
Great question. A lot of people say it evolves over time, and I'd like to give you an ambiguous answer, but this is actually one of the ones that is incredibly defining and easy for me to answer. Of my 14 or 15 seizures, hopefully the last one was in 2017. Most of them, probably 10 of the 14 or 15, were in and around plane flights. So something with altitude was probably doing something to me. And I would flop on the planes and stuff. In 2017, I had the coma where I was in for 96 hours at the O'Hare Airport, which, because nobody flies straight to Cleveland, I had a propensity to have a fair amount of my seizures in O'Hare. So I have a frequent customer at the Catholic Hospital, which they take you to when you flop on a plane there. So when I was literally in the coma there in 2017, I knew, and the doctor came in, as soon as I came out of it, he said, man, you're doing great, you're a tough guy, you made it. you're going to have to stay on your prescriptions for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I said, look at, so I'm going to be one of the overdose opiate statistics or suicide statistics. I love my number 19, but that's number 19. That's how many people commit suicide today in the state of Ohio. We've had over 100 people that will overdose death from the fentanyl issue here, just in the state of Ohio in the last 7 days. So I should have been one of those statistics. And I had been contemplating about food as your medicine and changing my diet, going in and around then. When you have a seizure and you're in a coma for 4 days, that's kind of a wake-up call to go one way or the other. And when the doc said, to stay with all the pills and that, I just knew it wasn't going to work. So that set me on this life mission right now. Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think Derek, and I'll pass it off to you after this. Something you hit on earlier. For our audience, some know what we do, some don't know what we do. We train individuals for community employment. Everybody, has strengths. Everybody has challenges. We live in a society where, unfortunately, these labels do define people to a degree. They limit. They sometimes segregate individuals. And I think your story is one of such courage and such inspiration to so many, because you've said, listen, what society says is my predetermined outcome doesn't have to be my outcome, right? What society says is my predetermined pathway forward doesn't have to be my pathway forward. We at the TWO here all the time say our graduates are the magic behind the TWO. They're the ones that go out, open eyes, change minds to what is really possible, because they don't accept the predetermined outcome or the predetermined pathway. I think, is that maybe the inspiration that you strive to be for so many?
Yes is the short answer, and if we weren't on video, I would be taking credit for that. And I actually want to say thankfully this is on video, because I want to cut that, edit that, and I want to regurgitate it back as my own, because that's so beautifully said. And I'm not so articulately so believe in exactly what you said, and some of the different programs that I'm doing, and I don't want to, I hope I say it right, from what you're doing awesomely with Too Strong, but it's almost like a mentoring program, and it's almost like a responsibility of what you're doing at Too Strong, whether it's you and you guys, and getting people prepared and able to function independently on their own and work in the community and stuff. Or what we're doing with BEI, the Brain Enrichment Initiative, where we're doing high school kids that come, and 10th graders, and they learn a health and wellness and healthy habits, and then go into 4th, 5th, and 6th graders and mentor them, and then being able to show people kind of the right way and kind of healthy options and a pathway to success. You're absolutely doing that at Too Strong, and I'm not just saying that to look good on air and to do a good soundbite for you. I genuinely believe it, and it's actually what draws me to your mission.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot about our culture. Derek, you want to speak to that?
It's a good way to say that. Yeah.
The TWO is a place built in love and belonging. I'm wondering what the catchphrase "You matter" means to you.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. With especially the sense of belonging.
Absolutely.
We all say we don't need to belong, or we could be alone. We all want to belong. We all want to have an emotional attachment to people. And then our brains are really strong, and they're actually somewhat very protective of each other. And even again, trying to sit here and all of us, be casual and be cool and, talk like nonchalant, like, we're cool and stuff. I'm going to flat out tell you, I'm not cool and extroverted. I'm introverted and have a little bit of anxiety, okay? We all do, you know? And not to be cocky, but if I've accomplished 1 or 2 things in my day, yet I still have the anxiety and you know, sometimes self-doubt and of who I am and what I'm doing and why am I really here and stuff. So long-winded, Derek, as to kind of maybe what you matter means to me. But I do, you matter, especially to younger people, because we're all trying to bluff, myself included, that we have self-confidence and self-esteem. But all of us at times are lacking. And when you really kind of go look somebody in the eye, Derek, and say, you matter, you know, and say it really does give you a sense of self-confidence and self-esteem, that when we have a little bit of self-confidence and self-esteem, I believe we have a little more abilities to handle some of the life lessons, some of the bumps in the road, and then some of our commitments are a little bit easier to get through when you have that belief. And the you matter, I've had some amazing football coaches, but Howard Schnellenberger, who worked under the great Don Shula, used to say, to believe is to be strong.
Yes.
Okay, belief. Believe in yourself. Believe in your mission. Believe in what you're doing. But when you believe in yourself, and that's where you matter, if the more self-confidence and self-esteem you have, the more belief of accomplishing things.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Jack, before I let you ask your next question,
for sure.
you know, we tell everybody all the time here, if we can establish a baseline of confidence, all the employability skills, everything we teach here becomes so much easier. You know, so yes, that strength of, you know, self-confidence, that belief that, hey, I belong somewhere, is so important. But I think for us to really achieve our vision of life without labels, it takes people who have achieved great things, and it takes, you know, people who are our spokespeople in a sense, like yourself, to say, hey, listen, I might have this diagnosis, I might have this label, but look what I've been able to achieve, right? And now others can look at you and say, hey, well, yeah, I have the same diagnosis, I have the same, you know, challenge, but Bernie didn't let that define him. Bernie didn't let that limit him, right? And I think, you know, there's others who have become more and more outspoken. You know, Bill Gates has recently said, you know, he thinks he would have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum, or Elon Musk, you know, on the autism spectrum. So I think
and what if they got scripted hard early too? And I challenge young parents, and a lot of this you matter now, and I'm a lot in grade schools and high schools talking to grade school kids, high school kids about this. Truthfully, I'm really talking when you see me, and even today, yes, young kids, it's great to listen. I'm really talking to the parents.
Yeah.
Okay, I was that 37-year-old parent who was trying to pretend I knew what I was doing because society says, chauvinistically, the man knows what the answers are. Right. Well, I know I don't have the answers, all of them at 61. I for sure didn't have them at 37, and I blew a few of the answers in terms of me going on the Adderall, Vyvanse, pain medications, and then not knowing enough you get certain labels, and then your 11 and 12-year-old daughters are on the same crap. So now it's like being able to learn it so that you're able to make decisions in a more informed way.
Yeah, well, and I think so admirably. That's why we're so appreciative of you being here and having the conversation today. So we know we don't all achieve, you know, anything on our own. Jack, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so going off what Tristan said, we don't achieve anything on our own. We all have people who have influenced us in our lives. With me, it's my parents. I wouldn't be here today without them. Who would you say are some influential change makers in your life that got you to where you are today?
Well, the day after Mother's Day, there's no way and I'm not just saying this to be gratuitous because it's the day after Mother's Day. The strength, courage and of my mother is absolutely amazing. You know, what she's done and is for me, and growing up in the roots of my mom and dad in Youngstown, Ohio, and really being kind of hourly steel workers, from U.S. Steel, and the mills were great in the 50s and 60s, start closing in the 70s. But then, I'd said earlier, I really love the area and the people, and that's core part of, I really think, what's made my DNA so strong here. The high school coaches and teachers that I had and friends I had growing up at Byzantine Catholic or Boardman, Youngstown Boardman, I can't say enough about. But I really am so blessed, too, with so many amazing football coaches. When I kind of reflect back on my college pro career, whether it's starting with good coaches in the high school, junior high level, but then to have, like I had mentioned earlier, Howard Snellenberger, who was the offensive coordinator for Don Shula when the undefeated Miami Dolphins 72. We won the national championship in '83. I'm very proud to be the only guy to play with Jimmy Johnson 3 times at the University of Miami. Dallas Cowboys getting a Super Bowl ring, and then finishing with the Dolphins. To have Marty Schottenheimer, to have Don Shula, to have Bill Belichick, to have Jim Schaffner, to have those type coaches, the leadership that those kind of guys taught me, and life lessons. Football, the toughness of it is one thing for the lessons of football, but really they transfer off the field, and those type coaches really made a massive difference in me.
What kind you said you played with Jimmy Johnson 3 different times. What kind of drew you to him as a coach?
Well, typically when you're that type coach, what I did drew me to him, because he was the deciding factor of who stays on his football team or not.
That makes sense, yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson had this phrase, and I still use it today, and it's actually how I come up with when that doctor told me, laying in the hospital bed in Chicago hospital 8 years ago now, and being told, hey, you're doing great, you're tough steak, keep up with all your prescriptions for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson, every time we played, after Our Father, before we went out to take the field, he would yell, somehow, some way, figure out a way to make a play to win the game. Somehow, some way, figure out a way to make a play and win the game.
Yeah, do whatever it takes.
So somehow, some way, whenever I played football, I was desperate to figure out a way to win. That mentality was so seeded in me that it's still germinating. And somehow, some way, when I was laying in that hospital bed, that was the time and moment when I said, I'm going to figure out a way to get myself healthy. And it all kind of opened up my mind, and bluntly, a lot of the kind of thoughts of what I'm doing now kind of started flowing through there, and somehow, some way, I was going to beat and get off these pills, and not just get off them to say, hey, I'm off them, okay? Yeah, right. And I'm not just sitting here to say, okay, I'm not drinking, okay, so I'm a tough guy for that. Mm-hmm. When with this diet and with this food as our medicine, I'm able to be healthier without the pills and the alcohol, but it's actually changed, and I do a lot of AA type meetings and counseling for people. And a lot of times in AA, they talk about, well, I haven't drank in 7 years, 11 months, 12 days. Yeah, 9 hours, 4 minutes, and 6 seconds. Well, that's how long you've been miserable, because you're counting it for that long. And I'm not selling, but like literally the thing that I'm kind of proud, and I'm still trying to refine, is that the stuff with the healthy choices I've been making is almost done a reset of my brain to where it doesn't call for that type stuff. So I'm not sitting here thinking about that. And in the AA world, typically you're still fighting those demons, to where now those demons aren't aren't there. It's just trying to figure out how to flush out even the remaining heavy metals and toxins and microplastics and stuff.
Yeah. You're either focused on the negatives and what you're not doing, or you're focused on the positives and what you are doing.
Yeah, and trying to amplify the things.
Yeah.
Now just trying to amplify the things that are working.
Yeah.
And keeping out the old unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I think so much of our food philosophy here at the Two aligns with what you're doing. We're dye-free, we're seed oil-free. A lot of the individuals that we train don't end up in a restaurant or in a kitchen, but they're learning what is good nutrition and how do I care for myself.
It's just so important even for people who don't end up in a kitchen.
Yeah.
To understand, like you just said it real quickly.
Yeah.
And even me as an expert, I know you don't want the seed oils.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even things that are reusable that appear healthy in that. But even me, I don't exactly know how to get to it. I just know you don't want it. And I challenge people to really learn that, to take that upon themselves to get to the next level of your own health. And we got a great medical system if you need surgery today.
Right.
Or if you have special type things you need to do.
Yeah.
But in terms of daily maintenance and taking care of yourself, okay? It's not picking on anybody. It's just not but it's on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's on us, and that's where I circle back to the younger parents, and in particular the younger dads.
Yeah.
Okay. I know I neutered. Okay, and I love my father, okay, but we neutered progress in health and wellness.
Yeah.
We would make fun of people who ate their greens.
Yeah.
Okay, we would make fun of people who drank good, healthy water.
Yeah.
Okay, we would make fun if you drank the bad tap water in a polluted area.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, those are little things like now that absolutely add up.
Yeah.
That you really shouldn't be making people feel bad about, because it does have an effect.
Yeah. Yeah. So, here at the Two, we're here to create more opportunities for those that we serve. Unfortunately in society, oftentimes with the label, they get limited, segregated, set aside, and told they can't and they won't, which here at the Two, we're here to offer hope and tell them, no, you can and you will. And we're here to remove those barriers and build in those necessary supports. If you at an early age or before you had so much success, a label had defined you in a way where it limited your opportunities, or it was more of who you are as a person. How do you feel that would have changed your pathway in life, or changed your experience in life?
Well, I'm kind of thankful a lot of that didn't happen as much.
Yeah.
And probably because I'm way older. The social media is the ability to get information, really the ability to pass information, and even if you got a label, that didn't mean the whole world knew about it like it does today. Right. So it was a little more isolated and stuff. Unfortunately, I really believe it would have been incredibly disruptive, though, in today's society, and that's actually one of the reasons. Not necessarily the reason to be here today, but the reason to be so open about this right now is actually, I think it could, again, and I stay in the world of positivity and visualizing positive stuff, but it actually could be completely neutering to your whole life by doing and labeling somebody. And then our brain, and unfortunately today, sometimes, again, I'm not trying to sit here and be self-righteous and give speeches, but we can't let stuff go.
Yeah.
So we can't let it go. So to mask my insecurities and to mask my weaknesses, to mask my failures, I'm going to talk about your labels.
Yeah.
And that couldn't be any worse a thing, because maybe I don't feel great about myself. I'm going to pick on you, or I'm going to focus. I'm not even be picking on you.
Yeah.
A little bit of it may be true, but why is it on me to constantly remind you
reinforce
of something and reinforce something that doesn't at all give you hope, doesn't help you grow, doesn't make you believe in yourself, doesn't make you think like you matter.
Right. Right.
You matter.
Right. I know, coffee's been a big part of your health journey. Derek, you want to speak to coffee?
Speaking of coffee, being when it comes to coffee, what is important to you?
So why I ended up with the coffee, which I guess we got to get here at Too Strong and stuff. So as you're there drinking your roasted coffee there, and this is, I'll say this in the spirit of a commercial, but I'm really saying this in the spirit of I'm going to act like I'm a scientist or a researcher here, okay, and a doctor. And this is really the core foundation of what I'm doing to be healthy. So if people think it's a commercial, so be it. But really, I back into all my businesses, okay, via what I got to do for me to be healthy, for me to be cognitively present, for me to get some type of enjoyment out of my day. So when I was your guys' age, okay, never drank coffee. Okay, matter of fact, don't like coffee. Okay, but as you're going through this health and wellness journey, and as you're becoming a juicer, so we Vitamix our vegetables with alkaline water or coconut water. So basically, vegetables and good water. Okay, for a good part of our diet, especially in the morning and stuff. Okay, and then one of my big docs is Dr. Michael Roizen, functional medicine chair at the Cleveland Clinic. He's partners with Dr. Oz, who we all know about and stuff. I'm blessed with Dr. Tony Post, who's a liver transplant doctor at University Hospital, and then I'm a trustee at University of Miami. Okay, I say all of that because I'm super blessed to be around some of the greatest kind of medical minds in the world. So when I'm talking about longevity and trying to live to be 100 years old and representing things that sound like a scientist, I'm really plagiarizing it from smarter doctors and researchers that I'm blessed to be around. So I ended up, I know it's a little long-winded, but I ended up with roasted coffee because Dr. Roizen said to me probably 4, 5, 6 years ago that roasted coffee is the #1 thing to flush and detox your liver and brain. Okay, so I have both those issues, the cirrhosis of the liver and the Parkinson's, Alzheimer's type stuff. So to be wanting to flush and detox out yourself made sense. But one of the studies that I'm doing, and then when you're sick like I was, so from basically I retired in 1997, it wasn't uncommon for me to go 72, 96, 120 hours, 3, 4, 5 days without sleeping, most of this century. So when I joke, when Dr. Roizen said drink coffee 6 to 8 cups a day, that is what will flush and detox your liver and brain. I bluntly argued with him like I argued with Bill Belichick back in the day. So I thought I was going to got cut from the Browns, and I thought I was going to get cut from Dr. Roizen, okay? But to get on the liver, knowing you got liver issues and thinking you have to have a liver transplant, one of the main things in liver transplant is you have to pretend to be compliant to get the honor to get a new liver. Yeah, so in the attempt to pretend to be compliant, okay, I decided I would drink coffee. And again, in the attempt to pretend to be compliant, I figured, okay, I'll really sell this by I'll own my own coffee. That'll really sell that I'm going to listen. Oh yeah, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. And then, because I don't exactly like coffee, and everybody here in Ohio, we are void of vitamin D. So I infused vitamin D in there because the more vitamin D, the better, and just about anything. That's and for people who think you got a high vitamin D here in Ohio, you don't. Okay, we've seen no sun the last 4 months, so we don't. Okay, from that, and then because I'm not drinking wine, people who like red wine, resveratrol is the active ingredient that holds the taste in wine. What's the number one? Heart health. And so we have a patent to infuse that in the coffee. But as I started doing that, I really started studying, and almost like the juicing principles of the Vitamix with your root vegetables, and they're not rocket science vegetables, okay? Right. Celery, carrots, ginger. The basics. Yeah, basic, easy stuff in that. And just like if we went here today, here at Too Strong, and we went and had grilled vegetables, grilled broccoli, that's good for you, okay? Yeah. But cleaned raw broccoli has more nutritional value for it. So I use that principle of thinking that with the coffee bean. If you roast a coffee bean and it's good for you, okay, then, and it could flush the liver and the brain, then what if you kept it raw and kept all the DNA of the whole coffee bean intact? And when we found that you keep the whole coffee bean intact, and that's why I drink this now, and this is really just water and raw coffee. Okay. So that's the raw coffee.
How does it taste?
So it's actually, raw coffee's the way we do it is tasteless. Okay. As Americans, we are completely radically spoiled. So whenever I give somebody something that's tasteless, too many people talk to me. Yeah, so I just made this. I make a vanilla chocolate. Yeah, there's a strawberry lemonade one. So not that just, but it's all natural flavors and that. So doing things. But the raw coffee is. There was a test done. There was a test done by the Cleveland Clinic, by Dr. Manos and Dr. Roizen. Almost 10 years ago, that raw coffee has been found to be a Adderall replacement, a Vyvanse replacement. So for us ADHD people, for us people on the spectrum, okay, for us parents who get the sentence, okay, of the doctor standing over us and saying that you're ADHD or you're depressed, okay, and so is your 11 or 12-year-old. And you say, well, I don't want to give my 11 or 12-year-old raw coffee powder. I don't want to give my 12-year-old, 10-year-old coffee. But you'll give them meth. Okay? It's unbelievable to me that we won't think about a juice with vegetables, but we'll give them red dye 40 Fruit Loops, a Pop-Tart, okay, and a Vyvanse, and push them off to school with meth in it. It's unfathomable to why we have issues in the school system now. And there's a stat where you're 1,000% more predisposed when you're 40s, okay, if you had Adderall, Vyvanse, cocaine, heavy alcohol when your brain's developing in youth. So why would you trigger that stuff if you could try something healthy with food as our medicine and raw coffee? So yeah, I looked at it from that standpoint, but for me, this time last year, I had a MELT score of 30. Okay, so a lot of the holistic programs I do are really plagiarized from the functional cancer treatments. Okay. So and in the cancer treatments, sugar is our enemy. Yeah. Sugar is our enemy in the dementia, Alzheimer's world too, and pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetes. They say Alzheimer's and dementia is on its way to type 3 diabetes. So that was me. So part of this thesis was, the Adderall replacement, the energy. We transition people from semi-glutides for weight loss because with raw coffee, it's a weight loss on top of natural energy. And you can see maybe I'm a little too chatty this morning. But for a person with cirrhosis of the liver, who's not supposed to be cognitively fluent, who's supposed to be sleepy, tired, nappy, okay, you'd rather be like this. But the thesis that I've been working on over the last 6 to 9 months is I was basically pre-diabetic at 6'7" a year ago, and now to be at 4.7 A1C levels, and to be able to be so fluid right now and to be cognitively present, it's really stemming from flushing and detoxing from the raw powders.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so they're saying the thesis that I think it's showing is it's a massively good flush of glucose control. And I'm really, even though I'm drinking from a plastic bottle, which I hate, plastic and microplastics in society, and we're really ingesting about a credit card of plastic in us every month or two. So being able, the raw coffee also is a flush of microplastics in our stomach and in our brain, and part of a dementia issue is a buildup of plaque in the brain. So trying to flush this and create oxygen and blood flow to our peripherals and the brain's the
Well,
main.
I think, knowledge is power. That's why we sell box water here at the Two, right?
Yes.
Instead of in a plastic bottle, people come in here and, box water, that's strange. So we're all about education.
And I should be doing this in box water for people. This is just because I really am an idiot, okay, and useless on a lot of
Convenience
these
is real.
things.
Yeah,
Convenience
it's all about
is
the
real.
Yeah, no.
I think, knowledge is power, but I think the vulnerability to go along with that, where you're willing to step out, have the conversation, I think like you've talked about in society as a whole, everybody wants to portray their best self, right? Everybody wants to, be in the public eye when they're at their highs and they're at their best, right? But, to be so vulnerable and to be so willing to say, listen, that's not the human experience, right? That's not real life. We all have challenges. We all go through days where it's not a great day, or you're struggling with this, or you're struggling with that. And I think for you to be able to be comfortable enough and willing enough, doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't mean you're necessarily comfortable, but maybe comfortable is the wrong word, but willing and vulnerable to go through that experience and say, listen, this is the human experience, right? And this is, I think strengthening and empowering for everybody to say, hey, listen, if Bernie can do it, if Bernie can be vulnerable, if Bernie can, go through things in a way where others are benefiting from his experiences, I think we're all so appreciative.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And if I could add to that, the hard part is sitting here being vulnerable, saying what a screw up I am and how lacking in.
But that's what we all are.
But I want to say though, for the people who think what I'm doing is hard, okay, it's mindlessly easy. Okay, I can't, I have to eat my ho-hos in the morning and my Twinkies, okay? Like, this is easy. Health is actually, I got to get a Vitamix sponsorship deal because it's idiot proof, okay? When you put, 5 pieces of celery, 5 carrots, a chunk of ginger, and alkaline water in there and hit the on button. This is, again, I'm going to get to 2 Strong box water, okay? You'll see me shaking that, okay? But really, just putting a couple scoops in this and drinking it, okay, and I put plant-based pea protein in it. And when you put the protein in there so the people that want weight loss, okay, the people who want to flush and detox out, this is really all I do through the course of the whole day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is.